Well, folks, it's finally here, the end of the road, and we will determine tonight who the finalists will be for both World Tag League 2020 and Best of Super Junior 27. I'm Kevin Kelly, along with Chris Charlton and Gino Gambino. Let me get this out of the way. Gentlemen, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Well, I'm getting better, aren't I?
No.
No.
Chris, his Japanese is getting worse.
Well, language is muscle. If you don't keep using it, then it goes away, you see.
That's really horrible.
All right.
It explains a lot of the problems in my life. But please continue, Kevin.
Yes, let's not make it about Gino. Let's talk about what we're going to do live in just a little while. We've been telling you the whole time during both tournaments that on December 6th, we'd be live with English commentary. It'll be us three on the call. And then for the finals of both tournaments, it'll be on December 11th. And the three of us will once again be live. But let's talk, gentlemen, about what lies ahead in front of us here in just a few hours. And we're so very excited. We'll determine who the top 2-point getters are for each tournament. And those two will move on and compete against one another in the finals. All we know right now is the order of matches on njpw1972.com. And in just a little while, the actual order itself will be released. Chris, do you have any insight on that?
It will be, I think, literally within a few minutes of this.
Oh my gosh!
Of this program being distributed, then we should have the answer. But of course, everything came down after Kagoshima last night. Where it was the last Best of the Super Junior matches, and then in Beppu Friday when we had the last World Tag League matches. So those tabulations are being taken into account, and then they kind of see, as we had in the G1, okay, what's the most significant matchup here, in terms of what's going to keep us all on tenterhooks and have Gino get his calculator out for the point scores, because that's right, his job, right?
And yeah. Gino loves the maths. And Chris, do you think it will close with World Tag League or with the Best of Super Junior tonight?
I mean, I would have to say probably it'll be a World Tag League. We had Best of the Super Junior headline the opening night with Taiji Ishimori and Hiromu Takahashi, of course. And this time, certainly if I was a tag team wrestler and World Tag League was not the main event, then I would be pretty angry. But I think then the question comes, what happens Friday in the Budokan? What's that main event there? And that could be determined really tonight. Based on not just the results of the matchups, but the quality and the excitement of those matchups. And of course, that full card will come out early in the new week, perhaps Monday or Tuesday.
Gino, we've got to touch on, I think, just a little bit. Give me quick thoughts about Ishimori feeling a little bit slighted by Hiromu, and Ishimori the champ, but Hiromu the star. And
it's completely changed, isn't it? Usually the man with the gold around his waist is the one who's on front of the magazines and all the articles are about, and he's a star. But Ishimori feels like he's been hard done by. All of a sudden, Hiromu's the big star, and Hiromu's in the main events, and Hiromu's on the front of the magazines, and he's got no gold. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to Ishimori, and I think he's got a point to prove, Kevin. I've told you that all tournament.
We'll run down the final night of Best of Super Junior block competition in just a little bit. But let's get started, gentlemen, with World Tag League 2020. A condensed 10-team tournament, Chris, for my money, for Gino's money, and I think for the fans, it has been much better, as it is tight. There's no pushover teams, and all really except a couple are, mathematically still alive.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a much more competitive league, and we've had that being said, there's the same little narratives that keep us all excited all the way through the months. The Finlay and Chase Owens really coming together in the middle of the league and suddenly getting up that 2-match winning streak with that grenade launcher. Tanahashi trying to sort of come up and be in the support with Toru Hanari, and that very different dynamic than we had last year. So, I mean, all the way through the league, there's been a lot to be excited about. And even if you're not watching live on njpwworld.com, there's a lot of time for you to go back in the few hours before we get started in Fukuoka to dig through the archives and find some of those gems.
Yeah, there was, again, Gino, we saw a lot of tag team wrestling. We saw a lot of junior heavyweight wrestling, but it was real good quality. Let's talk about the Gorillas of Destiny. And again, not match order. We're just running down the matches as they're currently listed as we record on NJPW1972.com. They take on Henares. This should be a very, very physical, entertaining match.
Well, we've seen Hinare really carry the team of him and Tanahashi, but GOD have come into this completely focused. It has been amazing to watch Tama and Tangaloa absolutely lasered in on their goal of winning this World Tag League. But Hinare's got a point to prove. He wants more singles matches. He wants to be on top of the ladder. He wants to take on guys like Ishii and Shingo and Tama and Tangaloa. So it's going to be a hard-fought battle.
Defending champions Finjuice against YOSHI-HASHI, Hirooki Goto. YOSHI-HASHI continuing his improvement. Gino had made a comment, Chris, during World Tag League that crazy that in all the years of 2020, that the most improved wrestler in New Japan Pro Wrestling is probably going to be YOSHI-HASHI.
Yeah, it happens. It's an interesting journey as well. You know, when you compare to YOSHI-HASHI at this stage of his game to someone like Uemura over in Best of the Super Juniors, and you know, Uemura really being having a lot of people convinced that he's on the brink of graduating, and that's exactly what happened to YOSHI-HASHI all the way back in 2008. Was part of the Best of the Super Juniors, went away on excursion immediately afterwards, and look at the wild journey that he's had. But he's had an amazing year, and with Goto, a fantastic tag team, lots of innovative moves. Just that lack of non-verbal communication is always a thing. They're always, ready, go with every double team. And that's taking them, perhaps they need just a little bit of work on that to be in full contendership. But they've been, they've stayed in contendership all the way through to the end.
Yeah. And how about Gino, of course, tag team champions, Dangerous Techers have had a really terrific tournament. They fought with, a lot of very close matches against Yano and Ishii, who were the first team to 10 points, first team to double digits, and that generally bodes well for making the final. But I think the tag team champions would be the favorite here, correct?
Well, Dangerous Techers is coming to this tournament to cement themselves as real IWGP Tag Team champions. They don't want to be seen as interim champions or someone who just flukily won the belt. They're here to prove that they can win it. They were confident enough at the start to announce they were going to go 9-0. Now, that hasn't exactly happened, hasn't gone to plan, but they've really given it a good run for their money. And I think Dangerous Techers is going to take out Ishii and Yano in this one.
I want to ask you, Chris, about the very interesting team of the Empire, Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan. They take on Shingo and Sonata, which to me, they've been my pick all along, and I'm sticking with them to the end. What do you think about the very, very unique, different, strong team of Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan?
Strong, absolutely. Ordinarily, we've known Jeff Cobb for years, and we would never have him pegged as that type to be the bruiser for this kind of faction like the Empire, this antagonist faction. And yet they've gelled so well together, Jeff Cobb and Great Okan. Not just in terms of style, the grappling, the suplexes of Jeff Cobb with that karate-based striking nature of Great Okan, but just in terms of overall communication, they've gelled very, very well as a team, considering that they're a new team, and they've been very, very impressive to me.
Gino, Bullet Club versus Bullet Club, as Chase Owens and Fale take on Evil and Yujiro. Who's going to win?
Well, what a way to end the tournament. And don't forget the health and safety officer and Dick Togo out there making sure everything's going well. There's no corner pads coming down, Kevin. There's no chairs under the ring. Can't have any of that. But I have a feeling that Fale and Chase want to prove a point here. And that grenade launch has paid off really well since they've discovered that it's a perfect double team for them. So in my pick, I'm going to put down Fale and Chase.
And we'll see what happens there. How about, of course, so that's the 5 matches that we'll see in the tag league. And of course, we're going to go over time, which we knew we would. So let's move quickly to Best of Super Juniors. Taguchi. Well, I'm going to save this one for Gino. Let's do Master Wato versus Hiromu. Give me some thoughts about, Chris, about Master Wato's tournament.
Well, Master Wato, I don't think anybody really gave him that much of a chance going into this tournament. He had a difficult run, ever since he came back during the New Japan Cup. Hasn't really established himself, and yet here he is in contention, and we had to have this serious conversation of, Master Wato can actually do it. and though sometimes not everybody is quite on board. I know El Desperado certainly isn't on board the Master Goto train, but the results have been there. So there has to be at some point this conversation of well, Wato has shown that he does belong.
And of course, we cannot leave the president and fan club president of Doki out. So Gino Taguchi versus your man Doki tonight.
I can tell you how that ends, Kevin. The Doki Choki. The Doki Choki is going to happen. And finally, Taguchi's going to get his revenge. If not, Doki's just got that big middle pipe he's been swinging around wildly for the last year. So my feeling is Doki and the Doki Choki is on the train to victory.
Let me I'll send a message to Milano and say that you've renamed his Italian
please
stretch.
do. I mean, he already hates him, sure.
Doki
Choki.
Number 32, mind.
Listen, Italian Stretch 32 is not going to sell T-shirts like Doki Choki will. All right, so we're thinking about we don't want him wrestling in
like necklaces, like
the Okie Doki Doki Choki.
What the hell? Now we're getting out of control. All right, come on, guys, let's focus. Chris Uemura versus Robbie Eagles. I'm not even going to let Gino talk during this one. Mute his mic.
Robbie Eagles is, to my mind, the MVP of this tournament in every single sense, other than his point scores, which is probably the most important sense.
Yeah.
He's put in phenomenal performances, and I spoke to Robbie before the tournament, and he mentioned how he was realistic, and he kind of said, well, it would be great if I can win this trophy, but what I promise you is, he said he'd show everybody that he's worthy of winning a belt or winning a trophy within the next 12 months. And I would say, based on his form over this tournament, that's a lock. You're going to see Robbie Eagles as a champion or a tournament winner in 2021 for sure.
Gino's nauseous, just threw up in his mouth. I'll give you a few moments, a palate cleanser. How about this, Gino? My personal MVP for this tournament has been El Desperado. And he faces Bushi on the final night. It's going to be a very, very interesting affair, and I'm sticking with my man Despy in this one. What do you think?
I'm going to agree with you, Kevin. Ever since his return from injury, you've been saying that he's the one to watch, and I had a little bit of doubt at the start, but my God, this tournament, he has really shown his true colors. I've really enjoyed his stuff throughout, and I think you're right. I think he's got his number on top of Bushi here.
We'll see what happens, and of course, Sho versus Taiji Ishimori. We got Gino's thoughts earlier on about Ishimori and perhaps playing second fiddle, or is it more of a manufactured chip on his shoulder that he's looking to create? So who wins here in this one? Sho, Chris, or Ishimori the champ?
I've got a sense that we're going to go with, I'm going with Sho. And they met, of course, in last year's Best of the Super Juniors, now colliding again. And Sho is a guy that can tend to take the back seat in certain situations. And now this is a situation where he has to come through in the clutch here. He has to prove himself a big player, not only when it comes to the finals next week in the Budokan, but going on into 2021. Realistically, we have to think of him as a singles wrestler, still for a good several months before Yo is able to come back. And this is really his time. I would say that in his mind, he has to produce against the champion here tonight.
Yeah, and again, Gino, as we know, anytime a champion gets beat, it means a future title shot. Whether that champion is still in charge of the gold or not, with these two in opposite factions, I would think that at some point, Sho would face the champion, and deservedly so.
Well, unlike World Tag League, when we've seen the champions take a few pinfalls throughout the tournament, Ishimori stayed strong all but one. So he's fingers crossed that it works out for Ishimori, but Sho's probably well deserving of that shot, whether he wins or not.
Well, we'll see what happens as they've come down the stretch and how we find out who will be the finalists. So here's what you need to do in just a little while. NJPWworld.com, English commentary or Japanese commentary. You choose English commentary and you tell all your friends, because you get to hear Gino, Chris, and me will call the action from start to finish. Chris in Japan, me in the United States, Gino in Australia, and you all around the world. We can't thank you for being a part of this journey. So who will be the finalist of Best of Super Junior 27? Who will be the finalist of World Tag League 2020? We will find out in just a little while. Fukuoka will be the site, And you're right here, the place to be, njpwworld.com. For Chris, Gino, I'm Kevin. We'll see you in a bit.
Too sweet, me, Chris.
Ew.
Don't
Don't do that.
No.
Gross. Put that away.
Punch him.